Let's get it, let's get it. It's week 10 in the DML. I'm your host, OG Chris Murray. Let's dive into breaking down these week 10 matchups because we got a lot of good matchups this week. So let's get right into it. First up, we got Ramsey and the 49ers versus Centaur and the Seattle Seahawks. Alright, Ramsey and the 49ers is coming off of a tough loss last week to a strong Jacksonville Jaguars team. But looking at that game, Ramsey entering this matchup on the road this week against the Seahawks, you could take one thing good out of that loss last week, and that was the way that your team, your defense, however, was getting after the quarterback. You're facing the O-line this week, who's very shaky. They can't protect the quarterback. They're sitting at with 30 sacks given up so far this year. Blitz, 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 blitz. And I think this should be a good day for your defense. Now let's talk Seahawks. Watching this team throughout the year so far, I noticed one thing, alright, and that is the lack of consistency with this squad. A big part of that falls on the play calling. Seems like everything outside of DK Metcalf has no foundation, alright? Going into this matchup, Centaur, you're going to have to figure out how to get other guys involved, alright? This is a big game right here, division mate, but this right here can have you test if your squad is battle tested and battle ready heading into that second half of the DML season to push for a playoff slot. Now I gotta make a pick on this one. I'm going with the 49ers, of course. I feel like the way that the 49ers are playing right now, even though they lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars, this could be a bounce back game for them. So I'm locked in with the 49ers getting a W going into week 11. Moving on, next we got JBZ and the Bills versus Bino and the Philadelphia Eagles. What is going on in Philly? I can answer that question right now for y'all. Alright. They're sitting right now with 36 INTs on the season so far. And after only throwing 42 on the entire last season, boy, come on, they gotta get it together, man. I gotta get it together. But to make things even worse is the defense is giving up 40 points per game. Now I feel like, okay, with the way that your defense is playing and the way that Jalen Hurts is playing right now, I think that in this matchup, Bino, you're going to have to figure out how to control the clock, okay? And a big part of that falls on your rushing attack, because the way that your defense is playing right now, you do not want this defense on the field at all. So you want to try to keep your offense on the field as long as possible so that way your defense is not being put into tough situations, because they have proven just off of their rankings, giving up 40 points per game and being ranked in the bottom half of the DML in all defensive categories. You got to figure out how to control this clock, keep your defense off of the field, and of course, Jalen Hurts take care of the ball. Now, looking at the Bills, they started off hot, winning 6 straight. Then they seemed to stumble on back-to-back losses against the Jets and the Raiders. And I noticed one thing in both of those matchups with JBZ and these Bills. In those 2 losses, I noticed that his red zone efficiency dropped. Alright, you can't work your way and grind your way down the field and then finally get right there on the doorsteps of punching it in and turn the ball over, okay? 3 points or 7 points will always be better than turnovers. And this week, right now, you're facing a defense who's struggling across the board and they're crying out for help. So I feel like this should be a bounce back game for you. However, I gotta make a pick, and my pick for this one is Bino and the Eagles. Heard that Bino said that he's gonna be running the table, so I'm locked in with the Eagles getting a W going into week 11. Moving on, next we got.
Oh my God. He's shit everywhere.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, yes, we have the shit bowl game. We have Flair in the Denver Broncos versus under 2 rated in the Washington football team. Looking at this matchup right here is everything that will fall in the category of a shit bowl game. We have both guys high in the turnovers. Defense giving up 30 points per game. Offense can't score. Everything points into the direction of a shit bowl game, and I gotta still make a pick. Okay, even though the Washington football team have been struggling this season, I feel like that majority of it falls on them not being able to run the ball, and they're putting the pressure on a quarterback who has yet to develop into that role of being able to go out and win football games for them. So I feel like in this matchup he's going to go going up against Flair, and even though this Denver Broncos team has been literally playing okay football, but it's not lining up with the record, he's not going to bend over and just take it. But I feel like under, as far as stick skills, he has enough to have him come out with the W at home, feeding off the home crowd energy, and just getting that run game going, and just coming out with a chill game plan, playing his game style. So I'm locked in with the Washington football team getting the W going into week 11. Moving on, next we have Andy and the Cleveland Browns versus SJ and the Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to right now name this game the Rush Bowl, okay? You got two heavy hitters facing each other this week. You got Nick Chubb, who's sitting at 1370 on the season as far as rushing yards. And then you got on the other side of the ball, you got Jonathan Taylor, who's sitting with 984 rushing yards so far. That's not like, we still got about 7 more weeks. So that's definitely going to increase for Jonathan Taylor. But this game right here is going to come down to what defense can stop the rushing attack. Now, I ain't going to say stop, slow it down, because when you talking about JT and you talking about Nick Chubb, there's no shutting these guys out. They're going to get theirs. And when I say get this, I'm talking about $120, okay? Because right now these dudes are dang near rushing for 200 yards per game. So it's going to come down to what defense can slow the rushing attack down. And I feel like in this matchup, even though I'm telling you JT has made me a believer, I just feel as though that Andy and these Browns have the edge, because I feel like even though Nick Chubb is having an MVP season so far, Andy still has a dangerous passing attack. So even when things get tough with the rushing game, when it seems like it's not going in the way that he would like it to go, he still has that security blanket of that passing attack. So with that being said, I'm locked in with the Browns getting the W going into week 11. Moving on, next we have Expert and the Arizona Cardinals versus Bruce and the New York Giants. Bruce comes into this game with a shot at being able to possibly take the lead in the division. Okay, for him to turn that ship around, guys like Nick Bosa, who got the bag this offseason, is going to have to step it up, because 4 sacks is not going to cut it. Okay, you are a elite superstar X Factor player who secured the bag. You're going to have to figure out, as far as Bruce is going to figure out how to get this guy going. On the other side of the ball, the offensive side, Chris Little. Okay, you stepped into that role and you showed Bruce that you're able to show little sparks of being able to fill the shoes of Saquon Barkley. So right now, you're going to have to anchor yourself with this offense and figure out how to get yourself going, because these guys feed off of you. Okay, you're the leader of this offense. If you're not getting it going, trust and believe the rest of your guys not going to be able to get it going also. So Bruce is going to figure out how to get that level of energy up from both of these two guys, and I think the chips will fall right behind these two guys as far as Chris Little and Nick Bosa. This matchup, you're coming in and you're facing a high-powered Arizona Cardinals team who's looking to secure a W this week. So I feel like this is that measuring stick right here. Are the Giants for real at trying to make a run for the playoffs, or they're just falling down by the wayside? Moving on, let's talk about these Cardinals. All right, after losing Kyler Murray, a lot of people probably thought that this Arizona Cardinals offense was going to take a step back, but nope. Expert has these guys right where he wants them, sitting at 6-2. He's putting up 30 points per game, and I think this week his wide receiver group is going to eat, because I don't really look at this Giants roster. I feel like they don't have a true solid cornerback who can lock up a guy like DeAndre Hopkins or Christian Kirk. So I feel like your Cardinals wide receiver group should definitely get off this week. So I gotta make a pick, and with my pick, I'm locked in with the Cardinals getting the W going into week 11. Moving on, next we have Styles and the Kansas City Chiefs versus Dub and those LA Chargers. All right, coming off of the Chiefs is coming off of a bye, sitting at 7-1, top of the division, and in that number 2 slot in the AFC. All right, you get a defense who's ranked 25th against the pass and 29th against the run. Which way do you go in this matchup? I don't think Styles will struggle at all, but we will see what he do. Now let's talk Chargers. Turnovers has killed this team all season. Okay, when this offense is running the ball, they're one of the most dangerous offenses in the DML. However, when the ball is placed into Justin Herbert's hand, that's when things decide to go left. Dub is going to have to understand the phrase, okay? Live to fight another down. If it ain't open, it ain't open. It's just that simple, okay? But you got a plus this week. You're facing a defense who's giving up 121 on the ground. Run the ball. Force him to have to come down and stack 8 in the box, and then allow Justin Herbert with the proper play calling to make easy, simple reads. And this probably will put your team in the best predicament to win this game. However, I gotta make a pick, and I'm just gonna have to go with the Chiefs in this one. I feel like the way that this defense plays for the Chargers, it opens up Styles' offense. So I feel like the Chiefs are going to definitely secure this one. But moving on, next we have Gav and the Jaguars versus Omatic and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay, let's talk offense for the Buccaneers, because the defense is definitely there. Defense is there. Defense is solid across the board. Top 10 defense. But let's talk offense. Okay, you're going into a matchup where as though you're facing a guy who likes to put points up. Okay, so your offense is going to have to figure out how to put up more than 24 points. Now, if your defense comes out and play the best game of their lives, that 24 point margin might be securable. However, I feel like that the Buccaneers' best chance at this game falls down to that guy, Vita Vea. Okay, he's facing a 73 overall center. He has to wreck this game. He has to make Trevor Lawrence his bitch. Or this is going to be a very, very long game for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, and the offense is going to be forced into some tough situations, which possibly might cause turnovers. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about these Jaguars. The offense is built around spreading the ball, which I love. I love it. I love it. I love everything about it. Okay, because when you're facing this team, it forces you to not be able to zero in on locking up one person. However, the defense, it seems shaky at sometimes. They're going to have to figure out how to stay focused for full quarters. Full quarters, okay? Because there's a couple games where they were up big and the defense seemed to fall asleep. Defense has to understand that you got to play full quarters of football. But in this matchup, even though he's going up against the top 2 defense against the run, I feel like with Omatic having to figure out how to slow down his high-power passing attack, running back Travis should get some opportunities here. So I feel like he needs to head into this matchup with building your game plan around running back Travis, because Omatic is going to have to focus in on how to slow down his passing attack. So let's see if the opportunities open up for the kid. But I gotta make a pick, and with my pick, I gotta go with the Jags in this one. Everything's just tipping in the favor of the Jags. So with my pick, I'm definitely locked in with the Jaguars getting the W going into Week 11. Moving on, next we got Taz and the Detroit Lions versus the Schemer and those Las Vegas Raiders. Schemer's coming off of a bye, okay? To a hot hot Detroit Lions team. Now, the schema has all the weapons in this matchup to make this a game. But one person needs to eat in this matchup, and that's Henry Ruggs. Okay, he's been dying. He's been waiting for a breakout game, and I feel like this maybe be the matchup against Taz, who's struggling against the pass. Allow tight end Waller to draw the double team and get the ball to Ruggs and get him going, because it's going to be a lot of one-on-one coverage. A lot of one-on-one matchups with Ruggs, and just pray that he win those battles. And I think this should be a good game. Let's talk about these Lions, because these Lions is balling out. Okay, you went through the first half of the season, finished 6-2. Now I feel like this right here is your first little test. Okay, the turnovers are down in Detroit, which is putting this team in the best position to secure those W's. But this right here is going to come down to, can you make the right reads? Because scheme is going to focus in with trying to slow down that rushing attack with Ben Pilley, who's been balling out. So it's going to come down to, can you make the right reads and not fall victim to the trap? Okay, because like I said before, the turnovers are down in Detroit, but coming off of a season where you were crowned the Pickle King, sometimes that creeps back up in the person's mind. So can you make the right reads and just stick it out and be patient, because the Raiders is definitely going to zero in on trying to stop the run. So even if the rushing attack is not going the way that you want it to go, you still got to just be patient and just trust your game plan. I feel like if Taz can continue to trust his process and trust his game plan, he should be in the best position to win this game. However, got to make a pick. And with my pick, I got to go with the blazing hot Detroit Lions getting a W on the road going into week 11. Moving on, next we got KP and the Ravens versus the Big Homie and the Cincinnati Bengals. KP heads to this matchup averaging 48.5 points per game, 345 passing yards, and 135 rushing yards, and only allowing 16.5 points when he faces the Big Homie and these Bengals. I feel like that is a winning formula, and I don't expect anything to change. On the Cincinnati Bengals side, listen, you got to erase whatever game plan you had in your head, because this game right here, your game plan that you were using in the past is not working. You're going to have to come out, got to get creative, but I got to make a pick in this one, and with my pick, I'm going with KP and those Ravens getting a W on the road, keeping things going in the right direction, heading into week 11. Moving on, next we got Marley and the Saints versus C-Rob and the Carolina Panthers. Both guys coming to this matchup with the NFC South wide open, but these are familiar foes right here. So I feel like this game is going to come down to, on the Saints side, can Sean Callaway, okay, who was given the keys to this offense, can he step up in a big moment like this versus the division meet? Okay, he has shown in the past that it's a little bit of question mark if he's the guy to lead this offense. However, I feel like this is the game right here that can solidify him a little bit more as the guy that the Saints trusted with the keys to this offense. On the Carolina Panthers side, I feel like a tough early schedule has knocked the life out of this team. But listen, first half of the season is done. This is the second half. Let's erase those negatives from the first half, and let's build on those positives. And this is the matchup right here where you want to start building. I feel like the secondary for the Saints is a little bit shaky, and they're not fast enough to keep up with this Carolina Panthers wide receiver group if the quarterback is given the time to allow, but the O-line gives the quarterback the proper time to make the proper reads. Now, if everything lines up to what I just said, I feel as though that the Saints will come out with the victory in this game, so I'm locked in with Murley getting the dub on the road. Moving on, next We got JB and the Tennessee Titans versus HBO and those Houston Texans. Listen, JB, tell quarterback Gray Griffin he has one job and only one job to do this season. I mean, in this game, not this season, in this game. And that's hand the ball to Derrick Henry. The Texans struggle against the run. He just gave up 210 yards to Nick Chubb. Now, if you could compare a running back to Derrick Henry, Chubb checks off all the boxes. And I feel like if you depend on Derrick Henry to get this dub for you, and you stick to run heavy offense, you will secure the W. HBO, I'm telling you right now, man, you gotta understand that just because you have Kyler Murray, that does not mean you're gonna win games. You still gotta make the proper play calls. You still have to come out with some type of scheme to win games. And on paper, y'all are stacked with so much talent, but you can't figure out how to transition it over to the field. You gotta make a pick, and I feel like just going off of the first game that these guys played early part of the season with HBO won, I feel like HBO just has JB number this season, and I feel like this is going to be a tense game for the Titans with so much pressure of not wanting to get that boot 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 video in the chat and already taking 1L to HBO and the Texans this season. So I'm locked in with HBO getting the W on, at home, feeding off that energy. Moving on, next we got Marizi and the Minnesota Vikings versus the Bus and Chicago Bears. This game right here, both guys coming to this matchup struggling. Both have a losing record right now, but however, in this matchup, the records are thrown out the window. This is a matchup that's going to come down to straight stick skills, because neither one of these guys want to give up the W. Okay, this is a little rivalry boiling up, you know. So I feel like both of these guys are going to come out with their A game, trying to put up as much points as possible on one another. But let's talk about these teams. The Vikings have been putting their own foot in their mouth for the entire season. Maybe focusing on developing those young players rather than taking W's is coming back to bite you in the back. However, with the Bears, they can't seem to close it out when opportunities present themselves. Okay, the defense seemed to have taken a little step back. I don't know if the backlash of trading Khalil Mack, but the defense have definitely taken a little step back, and they're not playing at that high level football, which is making the Bus offense have to come out and win games for them. But I feel like in this matchup, the Bus is going to get back to what the Bus knows how to do, and that's ground and pounding, leaning on his defense to cause plays for him, and just coming out and winning and securing the game for him. A lot of hit sticks, a lot of fumbles. I'm locked in with the Bus getting the W going into week 11. Now, we broke down all the week 10 games, but y'all know what time it is. It's time to dive into that DML game of the week, and we have a banger. We got Tyreek and the Miami Dolphins versus Sweets and the New England Patriots. Matchup has everything you're looking for. Offense, defense, rivalry, who wants it more? Let's dive into breaking down these teams. Now, let's talk Patriots ball. The level from Mac Jones is going to have to be a whole lot better. Okay, even though he has impressive numbers, the INT and taking care of the ball is at an all-time high for Mac Jones. And we just not used to seeing Mac Jones turn the ball over. Okay? But top guys like wide receiver Philip Curtis and wide receiver Jacoby Myers is going to have to figure out how to help this young man by creating separation. You know? And another guy, running back, Damian Harris, is going to have to figure out how to play his part, because in this matchup, that 5.9 yards per carry is going to be needed, because y'all have to group together to help this young quarterback, which is Mac Jones, out of this funky slump that he's in. Okay? Now defense, we already know When you're playing against tight, you got to figure out how to slow down the run. But in this matchup, things are a little bit different. Tight has added a passing attack to this offense. So now, guys like Jonathan Jones, who have shown in previous matchups that he's that guy that can be responsible for coming out, slowing down the offense number one weapon. Okay, so we're going to see, because he has a top tier wide receiver coming to New England. Now, if Sweets can put up 36 points per game in this matchup, it should seem like a W. But one thing Sweets is going to have to recognize is this is not that same Miami Dolphins team that he faced last year in the playoffs. So let's see if Sweets can come out and execute on all those things we just mentioned. But let's switch over to Miami football. Whew. A little bit of blood in the water after losing last season in the playoffs to this Patriots team. So this team enters this matchup with a little chip on their shoulder. But the way that the Dolphins have been playing heading into this matchup, okay, has been lights out great football. Sitting right at the top of the East, sitting at the number one seed in the AFC, and they're facing Mac Jones, whose head seems to not be in the game. Now, let's talk pressure, okay? I feel like the way that Mac Jones is playing right now, guys like the guy by the name of Jalen Phillips for this Miami Dolphins defense is going to have to bring the same level that he has been playing with so far this season into this matchup by keeping constant pressure on Mac Jones, allowing your secondary and guys like Byron Jones and Xavier Howard to reap and benefit off of the pressure caused by you. If you could cause this pressure, you're putting this Miami Dolphins defense in the best position to get some redemption from that playoff loss they took last season. And let's talk offense, okay? Now, with the way that Doug Till is running the ball, it's opening up things for that connection from Tua and Wadler to grow into something real dangerous. Now, like they say, numbers don't lie, and you can see the numbers from both of these guys because they're both at an all-time high for each guy. So these guys are balling right now, but they're balling off of Doug Till being able to be that threat, making defenses have to come out and figure out how to slow him down. This is going to be a tough game, man. This is going to be a tough game. I feel like the Miami Dolphins is going to have to come out and play a full, complete game because they're on the road, and I feel like they're getting hit with a test out the gate, starting off that second half of the season. However, I got to make a pick, and with my pick, I gotta go with the Dolphins because these guys right now are clicking, they're balling, so I'm locked in with the Dolphins getting the W for the DML Week 10 Game of the Week. So let's see what happened. I got all the picks. I got the Game of the Week breakdown. Drop a comment. Let me know who's your lock picks, who you think going to win it, who you think going to lose it. I'm your host, OG Chris Murray. I'm out.